There are some proposals that have actually been taken before Parliament by a member of Parliament, and that is Ndindi, the MP for Kiharu constituency, who has written to the Speaker of the National Assembly requesting him to recall MPs from their recess to come and address this urgent issue.
Yeah.
Now it's urgent. It wasn't by the time they were going on recess. Now it's urgent. But the proposals are contained here, and he's going to explain them to us, are, remove that entire VAT on fuel from 8 to 0. That will save Kenyans 15 shillings and 87 cents on petrol, 17.99 on diesel, respectively. Then he also has, ideas on the road maintenance levy fund, which he has been on for a while. Ndindi, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Mariam, and of course, Ferraris. I'm glad to be here. Yeah.
We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
And we want to start, of course, with Ferraris giving you the day's quote. You know the drill? So tell us what you think of the quote.
Today's quote is courtesy of an American writer, publisher, and philosopher from the 19th and early 20th century. His name is Elbert Hubbard. The quote is, "The world is moving so fast that the man who says it can't be done is generally interrupted by someone doing it." The world is moving so fast that the man who says it can't be done is generally interrupted by someone doing it. How does that speak to you?
I think I'll be inward looking in that. First of all, I want to really thank you for giving me this opportunity. And if you allow me, I get into the quote because I think it rhymes with my introductory remarks. Because I want to go back to Kiharu in terms of that quote, and I agree entirely with that philosopher. Eric, before I speak for Kenyans, I'm also the member of Parliament for Kiharu constituency.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, in line with that quote, that we've been able to do a lot in terms of education, especially with the people of Kiharu. Ferrari's Kiharu constituency is a very large constituency. It's actually among the largest from where I come from. And all our public primary schools, there are over 110. Is a rural constituency. Looking at you, I think you are more urban. So
You'd be very surprised.
So in rural constituencies, there are things that are not very common, like tiles, or our public primary schools in the entire Kiharu. They all look like academies, and they are all actually tiled. We also have a program called Kiharu Masomo Bora, which we launched in 2023, and we launched again this year, taking care of 65-day secondary schools, which is covering 12,000 learners from Kiharu and outside, in terms of they can also come and learn from there. And in that program, Kiharu Masomo Bora, the school fees is only 500 shillings per term. And learners eat in school from Monday to Saturday, because we provision even for the tuition that happens on Saturdays. And actually, the last Friday of the month, all our day secondary schools, they eat chapati over lunch. And beyond that, we have also provisioned over 20 million Kenya shillings for revision books for our day schools. We are now at the phase of deepening knowledge, where we are now building laboratories across GSS institutions and senior secondary schools institutions. So in terms of that quote, it also speaks to me directly. Because when we were starting, it looked like very insurmountable to do that kind of thing, but I'm glad we've been able to achieve it. Not just for us to come and talk about it on TVs, but also to impact many lives, which we have done. Actually, Latif, when I was relaunching it, there is a young man who had already come to Kiharu before, based on the previous launch in 2023. He actually came all the way from Kariobangi, and he Googled and realized my home area is a place called Gaideri. So we went there to ask for our home. To cut the long story short, he's now being hosted by a stranger, a person who is not a relative, and the young man is actually getting A's. He'll be sitting for his KCSE this year, and I'm glad he's definitely headed to university.
That's good.
That's really good.
Good stuff. So as people are just saying, we'll do, or can't be done, other people who can do it, come and do it.
Yes.
Right? They get it done.
They get it done.
Okay. Now, we've been expecting our parliament to get it done, to address the plight of Kenyans on the cost of living and various issues, including taxation, which is, of course, the direct mandate of Parliament, have raised concerns among the public. Now, this time it's about fuel prices. Ndindi, you've been talking about reduction in taxation and levies on the cost of fuel for a long time. Up to a point now, you are asking the Speaker to actually recall members of Parliament for that. Has he responded to you?
First of all, I want to send condolences to the Kenyans who lost their lives yesterday, to their families. It is regrettable that when Kenyans are expressing their views, they are met with very heavy force. We want to sincerely send our condolences, poleni sana, to the families that are affected. I wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly last week, and it is premised on the fact that, Ratif, the reviews of the prices were done last week. And I don't think it was proper for me to jump before the horse in terms of to put the horse before the cart. So I actually had to wait for that to happen.
It's always like it's always the horse before the cart.
It's always the horse before the cart. So I couldn't put the cart before the horse. Kiharu masomo bora ni 500. So I wrote to the I actually did 2 letters, one to the clerk of the National Assembly and the next one to the Speaker of the National Assembly, requesting that we needed to do something as the people's representatives, because beyond coming to these kind of shows and press conferences, we have actual power that we can exercise. And these are the details. The detail for the Speaker's letter was requesting him to recall Parliament from recess.
Yeah.
And I did that just as any other Kenyan, how they would do it, not necessarily as a member of Parliament, because our standing orders are rigid, but we are in realities that are there. So I had to do it from whatever retro power there is. The second letter I did it to the clerk of the National Assembly, and my request is that he allocates now me the proper staffing, who will assist in terms of drafting of the bills that I'm proposing, in terms of amendments. It's usually the standard practice of Parliament, because of even wording, and so that you don't go through back and forth. So this one had the actual proposals. One is that currently, I'll not reference yesterday's prices because they're still disputable. So I'll be using the real ones that Kenyans know from
the price as of yesterday morning.
Yes. So it was around 214 approximately for super, and the other one was around 243 approximately for diesel. I thought there is something we can do to reduce those prices. One proposal, actually thought in terms of diesel, because diesel is used across many platforms, not just transportation. I thought it is important we reduce diesel by around 54 shillings. And I actually calculated. And some of these things, I actually take a lot of time to do them, because I don't want just to engage in an arena of just speaking for speaking's sake. So the first proposal was that we need to relook at the margins of the people involved in the oil business, that is importers, and also retailers and wholesalers. Their margins come to around 17 shillings. But out of that, around 6 shillings is actually to the importers. When we get time, we'll talk about that, because that is where the issue of G2G is. So my request was that we reduce that by 4 shillings. That doesn't need any parliamentary process. The second thing is that I am proposing that we reduce our VAT further from 8% to 0 in the meantime. That is pushing now all the fuel products to what is called the first schedule, exempting all of them from VAT. That would give us a reprieve of around 15 shillings for super and around 17 shillings for diesel. The third one is that there is a levy which was added by still this government in the year 2024. That is a levy of 7 shillings. Previously, our fuel levy, which is road maintenance levy fund, was around 18 shillings. It was added to 25 in 2024. So my proposal was that we hive off that 7 shillings again and go back to the status quo. So that's another additional of 7 shillings. And in terms of that already pushes the price of super petrol to below 190, to around 186 thereabout. But there is still an elephant in the room called diesel. So in terms of diesel, I propose that we also get an additional of 5 billion Kenya shillings from the Fuel Stabilization Fund. Fuel Stabilization Fund is a harabe done by Kenyans through fueling. Every time you fuel, there is some money that goes into that fund. So there is no direct injection of money from the exchequer. And that would give, in terms of diesel, an additional 24 shillings, because according to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, Kenya consumes around 200 million liters of diesel per month and approximately 135 million liters of petrol. So if we subsidize diesel by that 5 billion, then it pushes the reduction to around 53 to 54 shillings for diesel. Eric, if you give me time, I can also go ahead. The reasoning for that. The reasoning for that is that I have been the chairman of budget, so I understand that Kenya needs these revenues. So I'm not doing it for populism's sake. So we need taxes. And my proposal, the more the reason, is taking care of the dynamism of prices. So it's not for perpetuity. Or that is why Parliament exists. It exists to look at the conditions. So I thought in the current situation, where the barrel of oil is over $100 per barrel, it is not a usual time. Usual times for the last 3 years has been around $60 per barrel. So my proposal is to take care of the intervening period, so that by the time we cross the bridge, we can look at it. So what is the cost of this?
How long do you give that intervening period?
That's one.
My proposal, I thought, Eric, would be around 4 months to 6 months. That is my reasoning, because I see there is a lot of things that are also happening in terms of global geopolitics. I could be too optimistic, but that is my horizon.
So at most 6 months.
At most 6 months.
So is it your prediction that the war will end in 6 months?
I am hopeful, just like any other citizen of the world.
Okay.
Okay. So then the next bit you are going to tell us how much the government is going to forego in revenue.
Now, there are things that we have to decide on, Waboi. We have to decide whether we are going to have some sticky effects to the economy by being laissez-faire, or just letting things be, or we are going to intervene as a country and see whether we can arrest especially inflationary pressures. So there has to be a trade-off between spending money now and safeguarding the medium and long-term effects to the economy, or then saying, let things be, and then we bite the bullet. And I thought it is not very prudent for us to go the latter route. So the earlier route, Kenya, in terms of expenditure, in terms of consumption, I'm working with around 350 million liters of both diesel and petrol. I have lifted that data from the KNBS. So when you talk about VAT, I'm approximating at around, we are foregoing 15 shillings per liter. So when you do that math approximately, we are talking about around 5 billion shillings approximately. Fuel levy of 7 shillings, using the same 350 million liters per month, we are talking about 2.45 or 2.5 billion shillings. And of course, then there is fuel stabilization, which is subsidy of 5 billion additional, which is coming to around 12.5, I'm approximating 12.7 or thereabout. But the 5 billion is not coming from the exchequer. The 5 billion is, Kenyans have already raised that money.
It's in the kitty.
It's already in the kitty. And by the way, the kitty is resourced. So it's not money we are borrowing.
And ring-fenced.
It's there and ring-fenced. And it's available. So the actual money we are actually spending as a country is just around 7.7 billion shillings. Now, I've tried to come up with various figures to look at.
How many months?
That is per month.
Per month.
Now, the issue is this now, Mariam. The effects to the economy, yesterday alone, we could be talking about tens of billions to the economy, even if it was a usual day. So in terms of costing, And in terms of inflationary pressures to the economy, we are talking about tens of billions. In terms of the month, we are talking about hundreds of billion shillings that will be a loss to the economy. So I'm now caught in between here. Yes, the country may need this revenue, but the revenue comes, number one, out of stability. So we have to take care of the parameters, the stability of parameters to the economy.
Correct.
If you look at the May figures of inflation, I can ascertain they'll definitely be above 7.5% year on year. The inflation for May.
Yeah.
So the cost is too high on the economic front. So I thought it is important to arrest this matter now by spending a little bit more and then safeguard the future of the economy in the medium and long.
I hear you. With how much we are foregoing in taxes, you've been very methodical. And it's an estimate, but a very methodical one. How much we are losing as a result of the current fuel prices and the protests, I need the methodology for that. How did you, when you say it could be in the tens of billions, what's feeding that? What's informing that?
Number one, you look at the fares. Number one hit is transportation. What is the fare? Anything that takes money out of the pocket of a Kenyan is reducing their disposable income and consequently reducing their welfare. So you cost that just through estimates. For now, I'm just an individual trying to do this. Number two, you look at all the things that we consume, which has to go through a production process. We are talking about unga and everything else. We are talking about the cost of energy. I saw yesterday, disappointingly, that EPRA also added kuni into the fire by also being too insensitive to allow Kenya Power to increase energy prices. So those are the kind of costings I'm talking about. I've not even come to the start of. This is even a different matter altogether. I'm just talking about precise economic effects.
Now, I want to just look back at the figures. Yesterday, I'm sure you know, we had John Buddy, the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury here. And his calculation was that by reducing VAT from 16% to 8%, that 8% reduction was actually costing 12 billion shillings a month to the exchequer. So for the 2 months, it's 24 billion shillings. So I am seeing your calculation coming to about 5 billion shillings. So I think the 350 is times 2 per month. The 350 million
According to
liters,
him.
so 700 million liters. So you are both people who have information, all right? So is this reduction going to be 5 billion or is it going to be 12 billion shillings?
Okay, Eric, what I did, which every other Kenyan can do, because when we come here, we are not paragons of knowledge. We are trying to provide solutions. When I do my economic analysis, I always try to use the Kenyan data. And if you look at the recent release of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, it is very telling about what we consume as Kenya. And the reason I'm disputing that, Latif, because I also saw his claim and the claim of the former, the deputy president. One of them said fuel prices would be 400, and another one said it would be 311. Eric, so that we also see the foundation of information. Take Super Petrol. The landing cost is around 117 shillings.
Yes.
And the taxes are around 74 shillings.
Yes.
And of course the margins, you add up the margins, 17 shillings and something, and plus the other things. So they talk about if the government never intervened. I want us to calculate with you because it's obvious. They said if the government never intervened, the price would have been 311, and another one said 400. Okay. On terms of Super Petrol, how has the government intervened? Just tell me.
This particular month, the government has
ever since Iran came up.
Since Iran, The government has intervened by reducing VAT.
Okay. On just super petrol.
On super petrol.
Yes.
And in the first month, by injecting money into the
Fuel subsidy.
subsidy.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this
Second
month. Let's talk about
zero
this.
subsidy.
Okay, let's talk about this month. What is the intervention?
VAT.
Just VAT.
15 shillings.
Baboy, you can do even for us with your calculator. The lading cost is 117. The only intervention by government is 8% VAT. And VAT, by the way, let me tell you something else, which may be not be very palatable to Kenyans. VAT never applies on lading cost. That's something else that is a moving target.
It's
VAT
applied on the cost after.
VAT is applied. There is a formula.
Okay.
Lading cost plus taxes and levy. Lading cost plus taxes and levies minus VAT. That is what is vatable.
Oh.
So even levies are vatable. So I would just for consistency, let's first calculate this.
Okay.
So instead of just bothering you so much with that formula because it's complex,
You have
let's just
the-
use the EPRA one.
Yes.
If you look at this, Mariam, this one, it tells you about the current VAT. It's somewhere here.
Levy VAT, there we go.
VAT is around 15 shillings.
15 shillings.
15 shillings, 87 cents.
That's for 8%.
Yes. Yeah.
So it would only be another 8%. Are we together up to
Yes.
there, Miriam?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mariam, sorry.
Yes, yes.
So you just
Add another 15
the 214
shillings.
plus 15.
Yeah.
So where are they getting 311 and 400? So I am just trying to demystify that it is beholden to them to exaggerate things, of course, and we all understand. But I don't think at this particular time, we actually need that. I think over time we have now come to learn as leaders that we are not leaders because we know more. We are leaders just because Kenyans have given us that privilege.
That's true.
And when we know that, then you can't play around with Kenyans.
Okay. So yes, KNBS and EPRA data is about 470 to 500 cubic meters of petroleum products per month, consumption in this country. So obviously now if we go with your figure, which is about 350,
Yeah, it's half.
it's even if we increase this by 100, so to get to 450, 5 billion would be about 6 billion
About
shillings
6p.
saving, not the 12, right? So add that into the reduction in the levy, the road maintenance levy,
7 shillings.
7 shillings. So it comes to about 7 shillings, 9 shillings, even if we go far. Right?
Okay.
So 9 shillings is the reduction. 9 billion rather is the reduction per month, is what the government is foregoing in terms of income. What impact would that have? That's a question to answer, but let's first take a break
Yeah.
because you're continuing that. This is the proposal. This is the pain point for government, but this is how we balance it out. Ndindi Nyoro, the MP for Keharu constituency, is our guest for this hour. He's proposed to Parliament. He's proposed to the Speaker to recall Parliament so that he can propose to Parliament to reduce VAT, completely remove VAT on fuel products, and also reduce the road maintenance levy.
And exporters' margins.
And exporters' margins from the calculated fuel formula. We'll be back shortly on that.
I'll see you.
Several questions are coming in for you, Ndindi. Question to my KU classmate. This is from the Kikombe. You criticize the fuel prices today, but many fuel taxes were introduced and maintained by Parliament. I smell politics in play and not solutions. Donge.
Donge.
Yeah. Stephen, consider why was Ndindi Nyoro quiet when he was chairman of the budget committee? Amani table manners. You can't eat when you can't
talk
speak
with
when
your
you're
I
eating.
think
Yeah.
you
Again,
can't talk with
Ndindi
your
Nyoro
mouth
supported this government fully. Kikombe continues, the way I see it, Kenya should publicly disclose all margins of profit earned by importers, transporters, storage companies, oil marketers, etc. during this crisis. Because the way things are going, yeah.
Tuanze hapo. Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank Comrade for watching us. He confirms I was actually in school. Eric, economy and economic parameters are dynamic. And that is why houses of making laws, they don't meet and then disband. They are there full time. Because economic conditions change. And that is why registration meaning also taxes and levies, should also be very alive to the fact that economy is dynamic on its own. So look at it this way, Waboy. You are here as a Kenyan. We all understand, and I said, I don't want to be populist, that Kenya needs revenue. That's a fact, because we need services. But on the other side also, we need a stable economy. So back then, when taxes were increased a little bit, the oil per barrel was trading at below $75 per barrel. And the trade-off was maybe some little more money could be required to do the same roads properly. And it is a good idea. But then the situation has now changed. We are where we are. So the issue is consistency with the changing trace of the economy. Taxes and levies are dynamic. So that is why you actually see, even in my proposals, I'm not saying that we do away with this thing entirely. I'm saying that we are in this situation now, it may not last. The trade-off is, if we don't act now, we are going, the economic actors are going to make decisions which will be very sticky. Let me put it into perspective. When we increase fuel prices, immediately the following day, Karakacha will be here after me. Of course, because they're in business, they correspond in terms of their pricing. But in case the fuel goes down after a month, we usually don't see a lot of corresponding reversal.
Yeah.
So the decisions you make on the economy, some of them are sticky. Inflationary pressures are always very sticky. So that is my issue now in this current situation. That yes, I agree we need revenue, but at this particular time, this revenue is too retro compared to what we may end up spending, economically speaking, in the long run. So that has been consistent.
Yeah.
The second thing is about, hey, you guy, you are budget chair. And I agree, and I want to really thank Kenyans for that opportunity, that I served our country as the chairman of budget. And for all purposes and intents relative, you can try to Google anywhere, and you see that our tenure in the budget committee was actually one of the best in the Kenyan history.
Which years were this?
That is from 2023 to 2020. I can say up to the first quarter of last year, sorry.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that in terms of also the vibe. You know, everything is quantitative and qualitative. Qualitatively, every budget we passed, including Buddy, who was the opposition lead, was one of the opposition leaders in parliament, he would rise up and commend the process and the output of the budget-making process. Look anywhere, even the comments of somebody like, let's say, Junet, who was also very voracious on the other side. They were very kind on the process and the output. So we did very well, and I'm proud about that in the budget committee. However, Mariam,
because you know where I'm going.
However,
2024.
However, I'm going
2024.
Precisely. I'm actually coming there.
Yes.
You say 2024.
Yes.
Okay, ask about 2024.
No, you're saying you're very proud of your work.
Yes.
You are a major proponent of this finance bill that ground the country to a halt, essentially.
I was actually coming there.
Yeah.
Now, we need to also, we have failed as leaders to also be very forthright in communication, that in Parliament there are actually 3 committees that deal directly with the economy. One is the one I used to chair, called Budget and Appropriations Committee. It directly deals with spending. Only. My mandate starts and ends in spending. There is a very important committee called Finance and National Planning, which deals with the revenue side of the budget, that is taxes and levies, and everything in between. And that is why what happened in 2024, which is regrettable, was more about taxes. I never had anywhere protest about spending. There was everything about taxes and the pain. There is also a standalone committee, because I'm also and I hope maybe we'll get time to speak about that. I speak about that all the time. And I get the same question. You are chairman of budget, which I take responsibility. There is a committee in Parliament, a third one, called Debt and Privatization Committee, chaired by my friend called Shurie, which I'm sure maybe one time you can call him here. So that has been maybe because out of personality, mi ni mtu wa kuongea sana.
Stand out more.
maybe then I take that responsibility even for the other committees. However, as Mariam put it in 2024, there was a finance bill and it was unprecedented in terms of even the voice of Kenyans. And I can tell you for sure as a leader, because I would want to be a person who does not need to remember what they say. If there is a reset I got as a leader, it's actually in the year 2024. A reset in my thinking. And it is unfortunate that all of us as leadership failed. Failed, number one, to know that we are representatives of the people. And the collective intelligence of the Kenyan people should always supersede what we want to achieve. On that one, we failed. And I cannot even purport or want to even give reasons on why we did that. So I take responsibility on voting, but as I have clearly demonstrated, there was a committee, of course. By that time, we were a team, as you remember. I'm here as the chairman of budget. There is another person who was dealing with finances, finance bill. That is the finance committee. I don't think it would have been very polite for me here as the chairman of budget to be the same person outside saying things. Inside, we could raise our voices as a team.
Why are you raising your voices inside?
I can precisely tell you, I used to raise all these voices internally. But how it happens, for example, when you come to this kind of a show, there are some modalities you said before the show.
Okay.
If Mariam does not agree with some of them, I don't think he would come to raise them to the public. We will disagree
Internally.
And I can tell you, I used to do that. Okay, I don't want to appear like I'm better than everyone. But I was chairman of budget. I'm not one now. You never saw me fighting.
Fighting what?
Fighting
but
even after the removal.
One would actually argue it's
So
just
that
knowing,
should tell you something.
it's for argument's sake, it could be put as, you know where to direct your energy, and it was not a fight worth putting up. And you're like, politically, this doesn't make sense. Let me fall back and decide whatever it is that works out for me. So it was a political decision that you made.
It was both political and fundamental.
Also, the separation between, the spending and the taxes, one feeds directly into the other. So if you justify spending, you are by de facto justifying newer taxes. And you are also quoted as saying, if we don't pass this bill, the financial hole we're going to be in is massive. True or false?
I agree, and I take responsibility. And Mariam, I take a lot of time to think about this country in huge depths. And in terms of separation between spending and revenue-raising measures, I believe, as a member of parliament, as an economist, there are better revenue-raising measures.
Okay.
And I used to propose them. Some of them, when we get time, we'll talk about them. But as I said, and I keep saying, we were in a team. We go, let's say, for a PG. You raise all your voices there, which I used to do. You can check and reference and give my opinion forthrightly, even on TV. But then there had to be limits. Now, currently, I am a free bird. I mean, I am not obliged by the decision of any team. I can come here, speak my mind. And I think that is the decency of politics. That when you belong somewhere, then belong. But I also have now the opportunity to raise these voices. However, also Latif, because it's good to appreciate. Sometimes you can't have your cake and eat it. Part of the reason why I have been very effective as a member of parliament since last year is actually premised on the fact that I was chairman of budget. The experience I got, I will not be here talking about these figures were it not for that period. So sometimes you have to swallow some of the bitter pills. Yes, it is an experience that you have to keep reminded about every time, but I believe I am a better representative of the Kenyan people out of that experience. And I want to highlight a few things. There are 3 things I've been talking about all the time, and especially from last year. One thing is called securitization. It's now biting us. it is now here as a reality. When I started talking about it, it sounded like a jargon, securitization of fuel levy. People could ask, what is this about?
Yeah.
It is now here on the table because the fuel prices are knocking at our doors that we did the right decision as an economy.
Yeah.
The second thing I've kept on raising is the issue of privatization, of the sale, not privatization. The sale of the 15% stake in Safaricom. And I talked about it vehemently, and especially because of the undervaluation of the nature. I was never opposed on selling. My opposition was on how did you arrive at this buyer?
Yeah.
Maybe you could have fetched, we could have gotten more.
Yeah.
And I gave parameters.
Market, yeah.
Yes, I gave parameters of PE ratios comparing a Tissarat and all the other companies, etc. Now I am here on this issue of fuel. Now, if I would never served the chairman of budget, I can for sure admit it would have been very difficult for me to have the kind of interest I have in the macros of the economy. So that's something I have to bite as a bitter pill, but I'm also glad that
You
it
win
is also
some,
yielding fruits for
you
our
lose some.
country.
Ndindi, because I can see, I can hear you coming out but not coming out clearly. Just tell the country today, do you regret some of the decisions that you made as chair or as leader of the budget committee?
As the chair of the budget committee, there is actually honestly no decision I regret so far.
Do you regret some of the decisions that were made collectively
Yeah.
when you were in the leadership of the House committees?
When I was,
When you were in the leadership of the House,
let's
do you
distinguish
regret
this.
some of the decisions that were made when you were a leader of the House?
Remember, I've never been a leader in the House.
A chair of a budget is a leader.
It's not.
Okay, let's
When you were
say
chair of the
when you
budget.
were you were a leader of a House committee.
You see, Eric, and I'm going back, and I don't want to belabor that.
Let me
point because it's-
reword this because I think let me reword this.
Yes.
Do you regret some of the decisions that were made before Q1 2025?
In terms of the budget making process, I am actually very proud of what we did in terms of, number one, there are specific things that I did which I'm very proud of. I remember after...
Do you regret any?
I'm coming there actually. I'm just building up the base. I remember when there was the protests and we met as the people who were dealing with budget issues in parliament with the high officers in Kenya. And I was very, very, I felt obligated to stand in the gap of, that time there was a big issue of JSS interns to be confirmed. And when we met, almost everyone was opposed to them being confirmed because they said, oh, these people are in the streets. And I said precisely the point. They were in the streets because they need jobs. And I'm glad that at least on that issue, I was able to push through. The issue of regret, Latif, I started by saying this in terms of 2024, that it was a reset for me as a leader. The bigger responsibility that I take and regret, and the learning and the lesson, is that when you are elected as a leader, the highest office or as an MP, never ever think that your considered opinion is more important than the collective intelligence of the people. We were not able to read the mood of Kenya. We were not able to read that Kenyans never wanted anything about that process. And it is regrettable that it reached the kind of heights it had to reach. It is totally regrettable that we had that kind of outcome that happened. That is very unfortunate. And I believe all of us as a country, and especially me as a leader and all of us as leadership, I hope we learned our lesson.
Are we reading the mood right now? Because this has a lot more to do than fuel. Cost of living is quite high. So we might deal with the fuel issue, remove VAT, deal with the levies, but have we really addressed the issues of Kenyans? Because if you read the mood yesterday, transport was paralyzed, but there's something that is underneath that is very reminiscent of 2024. Are we reading the room right?
Let me these are my opinions, Ferraris. One, if I were in the shoes of the head of state, and I'm trying to answer what the question on specifics. I would not have traveled to Azerbaijan. I mean, sometimes when you are in power, you may take a lot for granted. And I think the government is taking a lot for granted. It is wrong timing for that tour to Azerbaijan. We have much more pressing issues in the country. Secondly, in the position of government, what I would have done is actually to address the nation maybe around 7th of the month. Because when you are at that position, you are not like me or any other Kenyan. You have information, you can estimate the landing cost, you can estimate what will be announced on the 14th. So to have come out and face the Kenyan people, give the figures that bear it, and then concede to what I need to concede. Thirdly, the people we see, especially in government, addressing Kenyans in so many TV stations, I would politely tell them, because we've been there, when you're in government, you cease to have the privilege of promising. You now have to do the job. So even if you jump to 20 TV stations, the bottom line is usually, then what? So all these scenarios is just to answer you. I find it totally unacceptable that even when 2024 is less than 2 years ago in terms of the actual month, that we seem to have learned no lesson. And I call upon the government now. The proposals we are making are reasonable. And I mean, we have gone through them here. Nothing is outrageous. I want to call upon them. Please, everyone in government, now stop going to TV stations. Come only to the TV stations to announce actual reductions in prices. Because after all is said and done, you cannot continue to promise when you're in government. Kenyans will not take that. And then, lastly, the kind of communication we are seeing is more of chest dumping than informing Kenyans. And especially, citing what I talked about before, we have the deputy president in one area talking about the price would be 400. We have a minister talking about 300. Another one saying it would have been 311. If he was here, I would have given him a calculator politely and tell him, because Kenyans who are watching are very intelligent, can you show them how you arrived to this? So that even as you look for a solution, Ferraris, we take Kenyans together. I mean, we work with Kenyans.
Yeah.
Like what I'm doing here is just proposing. I know maybe everyone would want a reduction of 100 bob, but I've come with a reasonable proposal that yes, this is our ideal situation, but could we first of all have our stop at this point because this is a low-lying fruit.
I still have a follow-up question to the adjustments that we'll have to make on the overall budget to accommodate this.
Yes.
Because something has to give somewhere. CS Mbadi did give us a breakdown of counties and, just salaries, and government has to function. Contractors have to be paid. So if we are going to touch on the road maintenance levy, what are we going to do with those contractors? So we'll come back with that as part of your proposals. Because if you're giving a solution, the solution has to have the counter. Yes.
All right. Ashley is on the streets of Nairobi. Our reporter Ashley is on the streets of Nairobi. She is making sure that we have at least some view of what's happening second day into the strike. And if the matatus are back on the road, fixers, I can see you asking kunendaje, rongai, kunendaje hivi. Let's hear from Ashley, who is in the CBD.
Good morning to the Fixing the Nation team, and I am currently at the Nairobi CBD. On a usual day, this street would have been full, and in most cases, even a traffic jam will be seen here. But today, the streets are currently clear. You can see on my other side, next to Neighbor Supermarket, there's actually one matatu that's ferrying people around town. But apart from that, the motorbikes ferrying people from one point to another, but it's just as empty and people are walking. It would have been a full day and people would have been walking to town. Today, this street would have been full by people, but it's currently empty. Apart from one or two matatus, there's no much activity. Back to you in studio.
In short, kumenyamaza tu. It seems the Matatu Owners Association, they're standing on business. They said, reduce mkitaka until you give us what we want.
Yeah.
We're not getting back on these roads. Unfortunately for commuters, that means another lost day. Either you have to walk or figure out some other form of transport. For businesses across the country, even what the Matatu industry contributes to the economy solely is in the billions. It's like estimated at around 900 to 1 billion shillings a day. Who else is ready? From Keter, okay. It's Philip who is ready in Eldoret.
Steve
Keter, sorry, not Philip. Steve Keter in Eldoret is also on the ground. Let's listen in to what's happening. Good morning, Steve.
Yes, Mariam, I am at the Eldoret main terminus. This is a stage that serves both the town service vehicles and also the vehicles that go up country and the ones that are trans counties. They go. We have vehicles here that go to Nakuru, Nairobi, Kisumu, and all the other parts of the country. It basically connects Eldoret to all other cities and all major towns that trades with this county. Now I am here with the players in this sector, the drivers, the conductors, and the chairman of circles, and I'm just going to have a word with them to see how the business is and what can be done to be able to maybe give them a relief. Pengine tuanze na wewe, anza na jina lako, tuambie gari yako ni ya kwenda upande gani na ikoje kwa sasa?
Kwa majina mimi ninaitwa Peru. Gari yangu inaenda barabara ya kwenda Nakuru. Na kwa saa hizi movement imekuwa ni tofauti kabisa. Maana hii mafuta wakati ilipanda, pia abiria wamekuwa na shida. Sababu imebidi sisi kama watu uchukuzi tuweze kuongeza bei. Na unapoongeza bei, unakuta ya kwamba ule abiria anakueleza ya kwamba hata mimi sina. So ile kitu tulitaka kusema ni kwamba hii mafuta ingesimama na reti moja ili tuweze kujua kama itakuwa ni 300 ni 300. Lakini si mwezi moja inapanda, mwezi mwingine inashukishwa, ukipanda inashukishwa 10, unapandisha na 40, unatukisha 10. Hakuna ile kitu umefanya. Maana hizi gari zinataka insurance, hizi gari zinataka sticker ya county, hizi gari zinatakana kwenda. Yule dereva pia mwenye anafanya kazi pale pia anahitaji mshahara. Na unakuta ya kwamba kuna ugumu saizi kwa kila mtu. Na hizi gari zote ambapo unaona hawakatai kufanya kazi. Ni ile hii mafuta imepanda na bei ambayo si ya kawaida.
Wewe ulikuwa unalipisha shilingi ngapi na kwa sasa unalipisha ngapi?
Nilikuwa nalipisha shilingi 600 na kwa sasa inabidi nilipishe shilingi 800.
Asante sana, pengine tumpate mwingine. Anza na jina lako, tuambie gari lako ni la kuenda wapi, ulikuwa unalipisha shilingi ngapi na sasa ni shilingi ngapi?
Kwa majina naitwa Otando, mimi ni mkaaji wa Eldoret, tunafanya kazi Eldoret hapa. Lakini kuna mahali tumefikia, mahali imepita binadamu wafikia wanasikia uchungu, mahali imewafikia. Mahali serikali imefikisha mahali upande wa mafuta. Mafuta inatakana kama serikali inataka kusaidia mwananchi, mafuta wake mara moja shilingi 700 500, Mkenya adiara azoe mafuta ni 500. Azoe gari ni 500. Kulipa mahali kwa maisha yake itakuwa ni faida kutoka kwake. Kwa sababu hii maisha ya binadamu sasa imekuwa ngumu sana, hata hawezi kupumua. Ukiangalia upande wa magari inakula zaidi kuliko binadamu kwa wakati wa saa hii. Gari inakula zaidi kuliko binadamu. Gari kwa siku moja inatumia 15,000 to gari ishibe. Binadamu anatumia shilingi 50. Serikali imetuumiza, sasa hivi tunalia kama serikali inawezekana isaidie mwananchi. Ni mwananchi anaumia, sio serikali inaumia.
Gari yako ni ya kwenda wapi?
Gari yangu inatoka Eldoret kwenda mpaka Nanyuki. Nanyuki tu was 1400. Kwa sasa inabidi customer tumuongezee 400 ndio aweze kufika pale naenda. Ingewezekana serikali ingesaidia mwananchi ipandishe pombe na sigara na bangi, ipandishe hizo vitu bei. Upanda binadamu, waangalie binadamu. Pombe wapandishe bei. Walevi ndio wamekuwa wengi kwa sababu pombe imeshuka chini na anaangalia kipimo matatu. Matatu imekimbishwa sana. Ningeomba serikali kama inasikia, pombe wapandishe juu, walevi wapungue, tufanye kazi pamoja. Kwa sababu Kenya imetushinda. Mimi ningeomba kwa upande yangu, maoni yangu, pombe ipande juu, mafuta irudi chini. Ama mafuta yake 1000 lita moja. Binadamu wasowe. Mafuta ni 1000, ajue nikitamka leo mafuta ni 1000. Sukari ni shilingi 300. Asoe mapema, maisha yangu sasa imefika tofauti kama nyuma zamani. Tunaomba kwa saini hapa sasa. Kama serikali inatuelewa binadamu wa sasa, tunaumia. Hatuna mali, hatuwezi ingia. Ukiingia kwa nyumba, sasa kwa nyumba sasa tuone news. Hii ina maana kuona TV kwa nyumba. TV umeona pesa yako, lakini kuchukua remote kufinya TV. Kabisa kama uko na kitu timamu kama umeharibika. Sasa unaangalia watu wanaenda shule. Tunaangalia. Nenda safari kesho. Unaenda mguu, huna viatu. Watu wavae viatu. Unaenda vaa jacket na kuna jua, anavaa jacket. Sababu hana hii mwili ina nguvu. Tusai tumekamuliwa serikali, tuna chochote sai. Hata ukianza maandamano, sasa maandamano, tuanze maandamano sai. Serikali kuje tuwe sisi wote. Tutoke atafuta serikali nyingine. Tuna maana kukaa tu ni hivi.
Thank you so much. Well, Latif, Mariam, interesting thoughts from some operators here. They're suggesting that maybe you add, the government should consider adding tax on alcohol and other things, but they should leave fuel alone. But we'll keep going around to see how different stages are operating, and maybe to get views from other operators and Kenyans on how this rise of fuel prices has affected their common lives. Now back to you in studio.
Thank you so much. That's Stephen Kateri in Eldoret. And of course, you can see people are just still irate. Mwile ina nguvu. Tutafute dunia ingine tufanye nini sasa? Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll be back with Ndindi Nyworo MP for Kiharu, asking him, okay, the revenue we are forgoing in this proposal of his to lower the cost of fuel, itatoka wapi? Budget yetu tuliambiwa, it's very inflexible. Very, very inflexible. We'll be right back after this. Hiya, we're back in conversation with Ndindi Nyworo, MP Kiharu. I think that's actually, we have so many things, but that's a good place to pick up the conversation. You didn't talk much about the cost of diesel. I mean, also the cost of kerosene. How come?
I didn't talk much about it because I thought the bigger elephant was the other two. Paraffin had already been subsidized in terms of, we don't consume so many liters of kerosene. And the subsidy that had been granted in that product, I thought it was not so badly off. So I concentrated, even in my analysis, on super, petrol, and diesel, because I thought that is where the prices were hurting Kenyans most.
And mostly on diesel. I'll borrow Senator Karungo's words, transferring suffering from one pocket to another. John Buddy yesterday did mention that if we go ahead and apply further subsidies or remove VAT from fuel, then essentially would be crippling government operations because we are squeezed. And the question at that point was, is government squeezed or are Kenyans squeezed? Because Kenyans have really given to their utmost. He gave us a breakdown. 1.5 trillion shillings going towards debt servicing, another trillion going towards salaries. And of course, if we're going to go ahead with the recommendations and the bill that you're presenting to the House, something has to give. Where is that money coming from? And can our budget actually manage to have such a deficit? Because we're already working within a deficit.
We have enough areas to fundraise for this money within the budget.
Okay.
I have tabulated at around 7.7 billion shillings a month. And even if you give it 6 months, Kenya can comfortably afford that. We have a budget of around 4.5 trillion Kenya shillings currently, approximately. And out of that budget, just a few areas, without even wanting to be political. Kenyans saw that last financial year, the highest office in the land actually consumed the budget even beyond what we had passed in Parliament. That the budget that used to be 4.5 billion Kenya shillings in the previous years, up to 2022, is now consuming close to 20 billion Kenya shillings, 17 billion precisely. 13 billion Ferraris is enough to cover us for around 2.5 months. Now, Kenyans need also to know that there are areas that are usually hidden from their eyes, which I can point out that we can raise more than 50 billion Kenya shillings from them. If you go to the security departments in the country, that is where most of the money that is spent in the political rallies is actually loaded. All of them without even wanting to mention their names. There is something called confidential funds in all security dockets. That money, when you ask about it, you'll be told about security and all other stories. But I can tell you that that money is the one that is out there bribing Kenyans. We can get more than 50 billion. And I'm not talking about hyperbole. I've already copied the budget and I know. We can comfortably hive off 50 billion Kenya shillings from the strategic security organs without any Kenyan noticing. Because that money is basically there in confidential funds because it's withdrawn in cash, and there is very little audit that's done by the Auditor General. So it's very comfortable for politicians to misuse that fund. However, with time, we have seen the burgeoning of this fund, and especially from last year. You remember after 2024, the head of state gave a press conference, and he actually mentioned confidential funds in his address. I was there. And he said that going forward, Kenya would no longer tolerate having confidential funds. And even by the last budget that I left, there was actually no confidential fund out of that directive. But now check out of the supplementary budget that was made thereafter.
So, just put a pin
check
on
also
that.
the current budget that you're talking about.
This confidential fund, when we say we have empowerment projects, quote unquote, is this the money that is being used for that? You did mention political rallies. What offices are actually have access to this fund, and what offices are using this fund?
The confidential funds are in the highest two offices. That's one. There is OP. Allow me not to mention the other two. Because I also don't want to be sensational, but they know for sure. Because I came here because if a solution is found for our country, I would go home happy. They know themselves. They can get that money from there. And I'm just avoiding to mention the other two because they are very respected in Kenya, but it is also wrong to misuse them out of the respect Kenyans have for them. So it's all about security dockets. And the reasoning is simple. When you put in money in a security docket and you ask as a Kenyan, you'll be given a security jargon.
Of course.
About something, you have not seen any terrorist attack for the last blah, blah, blah. This is the money we are spending. But just go home knowing that money is a political kitty.
I like that you've said that so boldly, but I do see the problem herein, which is exactly what you've said. Because it's a confidential budget line and that we can't account for unless you sit on the National Security Council or, up there. It also means, let me put it like this, there's two ways it could go. If we take 50 billion from the confidential funds, it's either one, that indeed it was doing this work of, security, intelligence gathering, and we put ourselves in a tough situation now security-wise. That's maybe a possibility. The other one is because someone wants to propagate that narrative, they start creating problems now to make it look like, indeed, without this confidential budget, now see where we are.
Very
see
bright.
Where we are.
That's a very intelligent argument. That's actually what happens. I actually saw on Nation the other day you had carried that story. I think it was on Business Daily. And when I looked at it with my experience, I could see the scheme. You just look through your newspapers, you'll find somewhere you carried about security organs having gotten a very high increment in budget.
That was last week, on the business.
Then ask yourself, is there new hirings? Are there new equipments? Then the answer lies there. We can comfortably get money even to last these proposals for the next 1 year without a Kenyan even noticing there is a problem.
Earlier on, you did mention that you have certain proposals around revenue-raising measures because, again, the solutions lie within government. Every time we see Treasury come out and say we have a deficit, we have so much debt or salaries, there's nothing we can do about it, and the most we can do is tax Kenyans extra, but we've not really exhausted our options in terms of where we can raise revenue. Let's go through that.
Yeah. But before that, were you done with other areas where
there are many, but those two will be more than enough.
Okay.
Yes, I can guarantee you.
Okay.
Now let's cop through what is the country spending money on before we come even to the revenue raising measures.
Correct.
So that we try to see what can we do differently and better. Approximately when we talk about 4 to 4.5 trillion Kenya shillings, there is another catastrophe Kenya will be facing in the next few weeks or in the next few months. And that is a catastrophe of the national debt. And the national debt is one of the most existential threats that we actually face as an economy.
Yeah.
When I hear talks about stabilizing the economy, I get worried because one step in remedying any situation is first admitting where you are.
Yeah.
The bigger problem in this country is, number one, that the expenditure is not aligned to what we or where we want our country to go, and especially expenditure when it comes to rejuvenation of the economy. But let me first of all, so that I'm sequential, let me talk about debt first, if you allow me. Then we'll come to revenue. Currently, our debt in the country is around 13 trillion Kenya shillings.
Correct.
And I'll go very slowly there. Because
Unaudited,
some of
but-
these figures, I don't want to talk very quickly. 13 trillion Kenya shillings. But how has that been? Because it's important we give the genesis.
Yes.
In the year 2002, our debt was around 600 billion Kenya shillings. The collections then as the country was 200 billion Kenya shillings. And the reason you asked me about revenue, I'm mastering in terms of also debt.
Correct.
Because they go hand in hand together. Now, President Kibaki took over in 2003. Our revenues grew to around 900 billion to 1 trillion Kenya shillings. And our debt grew to around 1.7 to 1.8 trillion Kenya shillings. So the net debt that President Kibaki borrowed, net debt, is around 1.2 trillion Kenya shillings for the 10 years.
Yeah.
Then we got now the era of President Uhuru Kenyatta of course, President Uhuru Kenyatta with the current president who was deputy president. It was actually a coalition of sort.
Yes.
They even divided ministries.
Yeah.
And the current president who was the then deputy president was very pushy. He even got the finance docket, which is in charge of debt and the economy. It was actually his. So the debt of the country moved from 1.7 trillion to 1.8 trillion. In 2022, when we took over, that time we were there, it was 8.7 trillion Kenya shillings. And our revenues were just around 1.8 to 2 trillion Kenya shillings. So I want you to see that during President Kibaki's time, revenue grew fivefold, by 400 to 500%.
Correct.
But the debt also grew maybe by 200 or thereabout percent. On these other 10 years, then we see the debt has grown to by 7 trillion Kenya shillings additional in 10 years.
Right.
And the revenue grew by less than 100% in the 10 years. Now, this is where we are now.
Yeah.
This is where I want you to capture the figures so that we are able to distinguish between the talk we hear, stabilization of the economy and all these other things. Let's make this decision as Kenyans, whether we have actually done it. And where we take responsibility, we take responsibility.
Yeah.
Because the issue is, where do we go from here?
Correct.
Now, our debt now has moved from 8.7 trillion shillings
Right.
to 13 in under 4 years.
Yeah.
In under 4 years. Our revenue has barely grown from that around 2 trillion to the current, maybe 20, maximum 30% increment
Correct.
in that period. Now, Ferraris, our country is currently borrowing around 4 billion shillings every single day.
Correct.
Including today, we'll have borrowed 4 billion shillings. This is a startling thing. This is discounting what is called refinancing. I have already removed any money we borrow to pay the other borrowing. I've already discounted that.
This is just fresh borrowing.
This is fresh.
This is what is called net borrowing. You see the way you can have a loan at a SACCO, and then a bank, and then a Shylock.
Yes.
You realize this one for the Shylock is
The most urgent.
Is the most urgent. So I've not included the money you borrow the bank to pay Shylock, because that is net zero. I've only included additional new debt. It is 4 billion shillings every single day. Now, according to our PFM Act, sometimes I confuse PFM and PMF.
Public finance
Yes,
management.
PFM Act.
Yes, yes.
According to PFM, any borrowing in the country should be for development only.
Development,
Yeah.
correct.
So we ask ourselves, are we doing the right thing? Now, last month, the revenue that we collected as a country, 91% of that money went into debt service. So we have to admit that we have a huge monster here called national debt. But are we doing anything to make it lesser?
Just before we move forward,
Yes.
in best practice,
Yeah.
what percentage should be used in repaying debt? Like what is the space we need to be playing around, because now we've gone to 91%, which we are barely keeping anything in our coffers. Best practice.
Let's use Kenya first. Kenya history first.
I was about to even say, before I even defer to the economist, if I do a household budget and I have 100 bob and 91
It's 91
imeenda
into
kwa
the debt service.
You're living beyond your means.
Things that I'm not even beyond my means. But
Let's use
go.
Kenya first as a benchmark. In the year 2002, the country was spending around 28 to 32 shillings out of 100 shillings in debt service. That's when President Kibaki took over. By the time President Kibaki left, our country, Kenya, had the highest debt-bearing capacity. Debt-bearing capacity means the ability to take more debt. Because the economy was so healthy that out of 100 shillings, we were spending 18 to 21 shillings in debt service.
Okay.
By 2022, we were spending around 62 to 65 shillings out of 100 into debt service. Currently, based on last month, we are spending 91 shillings. So, first of all, the reason I've given that is to also compare the regimes.
Yes.
If you look at many other countries, when you reach a quarter, it's already a red sign.
Correct.
When you reach 25%, you're already in red. But there are many parameters why that happens.
Yeah.
You know, the arguments you get, oh, Japan has a huge debt to GDP ratio, oh, US also borrows, because I hear that many times.
Yeah.
And there are distinguishing factors for that. Let me, for example, cite Japan. Japan has a gross debt to GDP ratio of over 200%.
Correct.
So, it is said as to be the most indebted country when you measure by debt to GDP ratio. But that's usually an argument, a defeatist argument, when you want to borrow more. Because when you dig further, you realize the issues.
Okay.
And the real issues are these. Japan cost of borrowing, in the last 10 years, at some years, it was actually negative interest rates.
Oh.
That's number one.
Yeah.
So you're talking, for example, in Kenya, we are raising a board at 13%.
Right.
Japan, at some years, they actually borrowed at negative interest rates.
negative.
Their 10-year board was attracting a negative interest rate.
So who is lending money to the government for no
Is
interest?
deflation.
There was a reason for that, which
Okay.
we may shelve for another day
Okay.
Yeah.
for Japan.
Okay.
Now, Japan always borrows domestically because there is money
Yes.
in the domestic front. But this is the third very important thing. What gets reported in the debt figures is something called gross debt. We don't record net debt. Net debt means Japan is both a borrower and a lender.
Correct.
When you go to the US, for example, economy, Japan is the number one external lender to the US
To the
economy.
US government.
Correct.
Okay.
That is not netted off.
So this 200 billion.
Yes,
is
200%, yes.
Sorry, 200 percent
Yes.
debt to GDP
Yes.
is inclusive of essentially what they have also lent.
Is just what they have borrowed. But it has not netted
What they have lent.
what they have lent.
Fair. Okay.
So you see now that one. US the same. So why is our situation in Kenya so dire? Our situation in Kenya is dire, number one, because we are running away from responsibility. Recently you saw IMF, there was what is called spring meetings in Washington. And our guys from the National Treasury went. They were humiliated by the IMF. Because we've been talking about specific things.
Yeah.
Remember the debt I talked about, by the way, does not include illegal debts, does not include securitization, does not include Talanta board and all the rest.
Yeah.
So the government has been wanting to run away from this borrowing by opening another book of borrowing. To continue borrowing on the book, but also continue borrowing even more off the book. But IMF told them, guys, please wake up from the slumber.
Yeah.
We only recognize one book of debt.
And it's this one.
And you have to include this securitization and Talanta board into the real debt. Of course,
What was
they parted.
justification? What was the justification given for not including Talanta securitization, keeping it off book, just for the numbers, right?
That's a
Just
very
for
good
optics.
question. Yes.
Yeah.
It was not for optics. It was to run away from responsibility. You are borrowing here, you've already borrowed 13 trillion shillings.
Correct.
So your debt to GDP ratio has grown, and your actual absolute figure has grown. And when other people are lending to you, they look at how much are you indebted. So they realize you are too indebted. So the government realized they can be clever by opening another book, now borrowing off the book. That has been the contention.
Okay.
And that contention now is the reason you see the government is now turning around, borrowing domestically more,
Yes.
Yeah.
other than foreign.
Yeah.
It's not a strategy.
No.
It is out of lack of strategy.
You know,
It is.
again,
It's
I'll
being
use
clever.
the analogy of the household.
Yeah.
Kuna mtu ako na kitabu yako ya deni kwa duka, unamwambia situfungue tu kitabu.
Shika nimeleta kitabu ingine.
Actually, you
Let's
go
work
to
at
another
this
shop.
book.
You don't stop borrowing in this other shop. You still continue
Fresh.
borrowing.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But you open another shop. You now go to another
Duka
kiosk.
ingine tuanze upya.
Tuanze upya.
As if they don't talk and
Yes.
they don't know.
The reason you see now we have moved domestic. Who are the domestic lenders? It is me and you.
Yeah,
Us.
and banks.
Yes, but majorly also NSSF and other provident funds.
Yes.
Correct.
So why are we coming locally to borrow? It's because other external lenders are more sophisticated. They will do your math, they'll gauge you, they'll price you accordingly, or I tell you, you are too risky. But then, borrowing domestically your government,
Yeah.
you can make a phone call to NSSF, tell them you have to buy this board.
Yeah.
And
You
get the
can
money.
make a call to superannuation fund, you have to invest in this board. But also Kenyans, generally, we usually think the government can't default. So generally then we go there as a hard.
Correct.
So that's the reason. Now, to revenue raising.
Wait,
Okay.
before you go there, because you've gone into exactly what I was going to ask, which is realistically, I mean, we're enjoying really good interest rates and have been for a while. Banks are having the time of their lives. Is there a risk of default?
In 2023 or thereabout, the president of Ghana had made the kind of decisions we are making as a country. And it reached a point where the load was too heavy for the country to bear. So they introduced something called a haircut. A haircut in economics is basically a haircut. Where then you're called,
Shave off.
let me demonstrate. The government calls you in a meeting in a hall. They tell you guys, I know you have a board of 1 million shillings you bought from us. You banks, we know you have a board you bought from us. Out of that million, from today, we owe you 700,000. And that is it. And we are the sovereign. End of story.
Hakuna
That's what is called a haircut.
So it's a.
They also went further
Yeah.
to also give a haircut in terms of pensions. So is a default something that can happen? Not just happen, but very feasible. When we are spending 91 shillings out of 100 in debt service, how is that not feasible? And especially when you have now run away from external lenders who necessarily lend you concessionary at 3%
Right.
to come to borrow locally at double digit.
18,
What kind of math is that? But you are coming here because there is very little accountability, and people can't ask you questions, and you can direct NSSF, and that will put us in a very dangerous cliff.
You can muscle your way,
Yes.
I think is what I'm hearing. We need to take a break and we'll come back to this conversation because there is the trickle-down effect to common mwananchi. We really need to paint that picture very clearly so that Kenyans can fully understand what this debt
And also
means to
revenue
them.
raising measures.
And also
Yes.
the
It was the
revenue
question,
raising
actually.
Yes,
measures. As we come back to that, this is Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time. It is now 30 minutes past 8 o'clock.
Working. Just before we get back in conversation with Ndindi Nÿoro, let's listen to Kevin Mutai, who is in Mombasa, giving us a spot check of what's happening. Fixers, we see your questions, and we'll continue to do these spot checks all across the country. Kevin, good morning.
Good morning to you, Mariam. Indeed, we are joining this broadcast live from Kongowea, commonly known as Kengeleni, a section of the road that connects Malindi Road, Nyali, and towards the central business district using Nyali Bridge. As you can see, normalcy has returned and motorists are operating on this particular section of the road as usual. Unlike what we witnessed yesterday, there was a bit of chaos here as drivers and conductors mounted a protest in connection to the soaring of fuel prices in the country. And as you can see right now, there are no even police officers except only the usual traffic and officers from the Inspectorate Department from the county government of Mombasa clearing traffic in this particular section of the road. We've also had reports from other regions, especially in Taita Taveta, that is in Voi, where I've just spoken to someone there and they're telling us that there's a bit of go-slow and people have actually opted to stay away from their normal duties because there are no matatus operating. Yesterday, as I said, no public service transport vehicles were allowed to pass through this particular section of the road. And we're not only talking about matatus here, we're also talking about tuk-tuks and motorbikes, as the protesters who had arrived here, they forced some of those who were attempting to cross over to the city, the island city of Mombasa. They were forced to disembark and go back home, or rather seek alternative routes to go to whatever places they were going to. As you can see, this is Kongowea Matatu terminus, and you can see there's plenty of matatus, and that signals the return of matatu operations in this particular part of the country. We do not know why this particular situation is happening. Could be probably because the government undertook one of the steps just to signal that it's going to address all the grievances raised by stakeholders in the matatu industry, and that first is because of reducing the diesel prices by 10 shillings. Perhaps that could have contributed to the matatu operators going back to work. And we've done a spot check also in other parts such as Bombolulu, Kisimani, Bamburi on the other side of Mombasa West. That is the areas of Changamwe, Magongo, Mikindani. The situation is as normal as this. Also, again, we've confirmed to the other side, also in Likoni across the ferry crossing channel, the situation is also normal and matatus are operating, although there are just a few of them who've decided not to move their vehicles from their parking spots, but perhaps we still do not know, and we cannot confirm whether they will be joining, or rather going back to work, or they will again continue withdrawing their vehicles as directed by their chairperson, whom we spoke to yesterday, saying that until all their issues and concerns are addressed by the government, then they will continue participating in the nationwide matatu strike. And of course, also we spoke to the regional police bosses, and they just told us that situation is also normal across the region, that is the coast region, and they will keep on deploying different security agencies to ensure that security has been beefed up, as they also monitor the progress of the protests that perhaps may be in readiness, if at all they are yet to come back to the roads again to protest. Because yesterday the situation was normal in the early morning of Monday, but later erupted into protest from around 10 all the way to...
Tafadhali tusaidie.
Naomba uniambie Wycliffe, ulikuwa unaenda wapi, unasafiri kwenda wapi, mafuta ikakukatikia? Alafu hapo awali umekuwa ukitumia petroli ya pesa ngapi kwa siku?
Asante sana. Nilikuwa natumia petroli, okay, tunaenda per trip. Trip nilikuwa natumia 200 per trip. Saa hizi imebidi natumia 300 per trip. Sasa hiyo 300 ni almost 100% increase yenye inatumiza sana. Sasa unapata hata ukiongezea customer bay anakasirika. Watu wapandi, si unaona matuktuk zimesimama hapa mingi. Gari yangu ndio ile imepaka pale, mafuta imeisha. Naenda kutafuta mafuta. Sasa naomba tu, tafadhali, Mheshimiwa Rais, angalia wananchi wa Kenya. Tafadhali, Opiyo Wandayi, angalia wananchi wa Kenya. Tafadhali, Mbadi, tengeneza pesa, weka kwa serikali tupate mafuta bei ya chini. Kwa sababu maisha imekuwa ngumu. Kila kitu imepanda. Kila kitu imepanda. Ukiangalia hapa, ukiuliza watu wengi hapa, hata huyu ndugu yangu wa bodaboda, ukimwongeleza kila kitu imepanda. So, tunaomba tu tafadhali, weka mafuta iwe chini. Uhuru Kenyatta leta subsidization. Tunaomba serikali, parliamentaries, tafadhali nyinyi tunawategemea, endeni mtengeneze sheria, mtusaidie. Hii kazi ya kutembea na chupa, sisi ni wazazi, inatupea aibu. Tuwekee mafuta bei ya chini. Wacha kuweka shilingi ati umereduce 5 10. Weka mafuta bei ya chini, tusaidike, maana tunaumia.
Hebu nikuulize tena Wycliffe, umesema ulikuwa unasafirisha watu wako wateja kutoka hapa town hadi wapi?
Nilikuwa naenda sehemu inaitwa Nyamasaria, lakini mafuta imekata. Ndio maana unaona nakimbia kwa petroli ili nijaze niende nayo. Wasafiri wengine wameshatoka kwa gari yangu, watu wanasema na chelewesha. Sasa hiyo ni hasara kwangu kwa sababu nimepanga huko town na nimetoa commission. Na hiyo commission imeenda, wale pia wameenda. Sasa naenda kutafuta wateja wengine. Na sasa mpaka nirudi nitaenda mpaka town. Sasa nitafanya aje? Na mafuta imeisha.
Nimeona watu wengine kutoka at least 29 counties wamekuwa kwa strike tangu jana, na ninaona nyinyi hapa Kisumu mnaendelea tu na kazi kama kawaida. Mbona?
Yes, okay. Tulikuwa tunataka kwenda maandamano pia, lakini tukaona hasara yenye tumepata hizo miaka za zamani zote. Tumekuwa tunaenda hasara. Ndio maana tuliamua tufanye tu kazi polepole hapa Kisumu, tuwe na amani, tusiwe na vurugu. Maana tunaona hata ukiangalia nje ndio kuna maandamano, lakini kuna uharibifu pia. Na hiyo uharibifu ndio tukua tunataka. Maana Kisumu maandamano imeharibu vitu mingi. Lakini saa hizi tuliamua tuwe na amani kwa sababu hata tupigane tufanye nini, mtetezi wetu baba yuko, yeye ndiye angeweza kututetea. Lakini sasa tumeamua tuwe na amani.
Asante sana Wycliffe. There you have it, Mariam and Wamboi. We will be bringing you more as it unfolds during our subsequent bulletins. Back to you for now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Judith Cherono. Wananchi kwa ground are, just sharing their sentiments, and it's really sad to see Kenyans having to walk to go get fuel in jerry cans, which is illegal, by the way. But, when push comes to shove, people have to survive and people have to get things going. And we'll be keeping tabs on what's happening across the country with all our other reporters. But we have to get back to our conversation with MP Kiharu, that is Ndindi Nÿoro. So many of our fixers online, they have so many questions. I think we might have to have Ndindi come back, part 2 to this conversation. And we're just quickly looking at the revenue raising measures, and also just because we still have like a few minutes to the top of the hour, looking at matters, there's KPLC.
Yes. But wacha tuanze na revenue raising.
Yes.
Alafu, because Kenya Power have also increased the price of a kilowatt of energy by 4 shillings.
4 shillings, yes.
And we are sitting with one of, if not the single largest shareholders. Mbona utaki revenue? But let's start with revenue raising, and then we'll talk about your personal revenues.
Okay. You asked initially about revenue raising measures, but I went into spending first, and especially debt.
Yeah.
Because those things go hand in hand. And I was trying to demonstrate how both have evolved from 2002, just to show one clear thing, that to grow the economy, to grow revenue, you can't grow it outside of growing the economy. Those things go hand in hand. Revenue comes from the economy. When the economy grows, you grow revenue. You may do all the other things around tax administration, but money comes from somewhere. You milk, if when you're doing milk from a cow, there is the limit at which one cow can give you. So some of the things that we must do as a country is to broaden our economy. Broadening our economy, including increasing the complexity of our economy. Increasing complexity means, if you look at the economy of Kenya the way it has been over the years, it is still the same economy. Agrarian-based. When we talk about manufacturing, we are talking about only increasing value to our agricultural produce. But how all the other economies have grown is going beyond that and increasing the products that you do as a country.
Okay.
When you increase the products that you do as a country, you increase productivity per person. Because remember, our economy has been domiciled around agriculture. Very low productivity per worker. I mean, our mothers, our uncles in the village doing farming, and especially subsistence, have very low productivity per worker. So commensurate, because it's the same citizens who pay taxes, then the same shows into the figures. So that's one. The second thing, there are some specific issues that I have been thinking about to grow specific sectors. For example, there are many I have done simulations, but I'll use finance first. Look at our finance sector. It has been booming. It has been doing very well. I look at the financial statements of our banks. Equity is now the largest bank in Kenya in terms of profitability.
Yeah.
Half of their revenue is coming from outside Kenya, meaning they are bringing back around 35 billion back into our economy. If we have that kind of giants across all other sectors, we have like 3 banks who become giants. They go out there to hunt money. Hunting money, basically, you are making money from other economies to build our
Bring
roads.
back.
Yeah.
Just the same way you put an advert on Facebook,
Yeah.
you are building a road in the US,
Yeah.
from here in Kenya.
Yes.
So if we do that in several sectors, we'll be able to broaden our base beyond the consumers who are based in Kenya, but also looking outwards into other regions and economies. Manufacturing cannot be gainsaid. There is no manufacturing sector in Kenya anymore. Just in brief, when I was doing my master's, one of the projects that I did was around manufacturing in Kenya, and manufacturing has been declining as a share of GDP since actually 1960s.
True.
It may seem to grow, but what we do is not manufacturing.
Yeah.
Our number 1 manufacturer in Kenya, you'll be told, is like edible oils. But edible oils are the highest imports in Kenya, meaning what we do is just the final edge of the value chain, which is just packaging and branding. So if you look at manufacturing holistically, we are looking about deepening productivity. We are looking about reducing underemployment, because in Kenya, many people actually who have jobs that does not match their skills.
Yeah.
Many Kenyans are overqualified for the jobs they occupy. So those are just some of the things, just because of time. But when you have when you have more time, we can spend much more on specifics, which I have already simulated.
We'll do a part 2, because obviously these are not overnight measures. You don't broaden an economy overnight, but the tax pressures and the debt pressures are very much overnight.
And the fact that also, lastly, you see, tax is usually based on the formality of the economy. The economy of the US is over 80% formal.
Right.
The economy of China is now becoming larger in terms of formality. Kenya is only 20% formality, actually 19% formality. If you look at the tax administration, it's only possible basically and effective when you formalize the economy.
Correct.
Anyway, that's also a larger topic. Maybe we'll get another time to talk about it.
Kenya Power, yes, 4 shillings 72 cents per kilowatt increase, coming at a time when already things are quite thick. You are also, yes, one of the largest, if not the largest, individual shareholders at Kenya Power. What do you think about this move? Why would you be against your own revenue?
Let me start on this, Mariam. Start from the latter part, because I see it most times. Also, Kenyans making fun. Kenya Power has over 35,000 shareholders. I have some shares there. Just as I have some shares in Equity Bank, or I'm sure you also buy shares. In fact, our friend Janet Bogwa, we used to do stockbroking work with some of their relatives, because it's something I started when I was in campus. So minority shareholders in Kenya are never part of the management of a company. They are never part of the decision making. And therefore, when it comes to talking about Kenya Power, I am talking about Kenya Power and increment of power as a legislature, not as a shareholder. Because, I mean, Kenyans participate in the NSC. I do that in my own small way, because that is the forte I know.
Do you not earn dividends?
Since I bought shares, we've earned dividend, I think, thrice. Not as much, though. The last one was, I think, a shilling per share last financial year.
Yeah.
So if it's about revenue, it's not something to keep you around. I actually bought it because of capital gains.
Okay.
I'm happy it responded. Now going into
it's a shilling per share, but how many shares do you own? Let's compound.
Yes. I started buying those shares many years back when the company was making losses. We actually went for a long period of time without earning anything. And to be honest with you, other than the fact that I'm a politician, is not even an issue to talk about, because many Kenyans own shares.
Correct.
For example, I have shares in Equity Bank. When they increase rates, no one asks. But a utility company, what I've seen over time, is a very risky stock to own as a politician. Because utilities are very close to what we do on day-to-day basis. But the fact of the matter, because the Kenyan people are aware of what I'm talking about, minority shareholders in the Kenyan market,
Don't
we are
have a say.
spectators of the decisions of the company.
Well,
So coming on this side as a registrator and as a leader.
We'll have a separate conversation
Yes.
on
Investments.
investments, yes, also legislating when you have any
Interests.
level of vested interest.
Yeah.
But that's a whole other conversation. Maliza tu hapo. Yes.
Coming on this side of power, I think it was very insensitive, number one, for EPRA to allow Kenya Power to raise the tariffs. Because sometimes when you're reading a country, you have to be both qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative is about figures and numbers. But you're reading people. And people is not just about figures and numbers.
Yeah.
There are Kenyans who are now at their worst situation. And when you have this situation about fuel, I think it was very unwise for them to add an extra burden to Kenyans. Some of these decisions, they just need you to have a human face. Even if they had a justifiable formula to do that, this is the wrong timing and it's the wrong thing for our economy. However, ultimately, Kenya has to confront the issue of the cost of energy and power.
Yes.
We are the highest in the region by huge margin.
Yeah.
And that, of course, percolates into manufacturing, because manufacturing, one of the inputs is power.
Power. Yeah.
Now, what do we need to do? Kenya Power is usually the face of the power because they collect revenues for all the other entities. There are many entities involved. There is power generation, there is transmission, there is distribution. But the one who has a contact with the customer collects with all the others.
Yeah.
But if you dig deeper, because I've done that, you realize that the cost of energy in Kenya is actually based on the cost of production. And the cost of production is actually the highest cost of production is actually based on something we call independent power producers, IPPs. KenGen has the largest market share in terms of power production.
Yes.
But you have some other individuals across since independence, only who are politically correct, who have been able to get what we call PPAs, and they sell power to Kenya Power.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Kenya is based on something called take or pay. You can imagine that once you give somebody a PPA or a power purchasing agreement, they produce whatever power, you agree on the price, whether you take or not, you still pay for it. So Kenyans pay even for power that they don't use because it's based on take or pay. We have to confront the issue of power generation and production.
They'll tell you that these independent power producers don't have the economies of scale that KenGen has.
I agree, but it has been unwise for us to accommodate so many IPPs, and especially when they sell in terms of multiples of what KenGen produces. Because the bottom line is production. All the other chains, their margins are predetermined. Production is where the rubber meets the road. And what I've been thinking, we now produce around 3,000 megawatts of power. I mean, that is nothing. When you talk about countries that are like us in terms of population, like South Korea, we are talking about like 100 times more. And the dream about manufacturing is purely hedged on power production.
Yes.
My proposal has been simple. KenGen has a market capitalization of around 60 billion shillings, but they have assets of 500 billion shillings. KenGen produces around 1,800 to 2,000 megawatts of power. If you do a simulation of the same companies, for example, in Nigeria, I'll use a company called Geregu Power and another one called Transcorp Power. They produce half of what KenGen produces, but their worth is more than 200 billion shillings in the Nigerian stock market. So what do we need to do? We must leverage on these 500 billion assets of KenGen. We get people who are good in power production so that we leverage on that balance sheet. If KenGen is able to produce double what they are producing, we basically bring down the cost of power because currently they are the cheapest in terms of power production. That's one of the areas. Sorry, today we are just giving a brief because of time.
It's okay. We have to wrap it up there. But thank you so much. We've spent 2 hours. I think we'll have to do a part 2 with you on debt. Mambo ni mengi. But thank you for spending the time and for, of course, going step by step. The biggest question will always be, Ndindi, when did the change of heart happen? When did it happen? But you know what? You've explained and we've gotten through a lot of issues. We'll come back to do a part 2, especially on debt.
I
Asante
appreciate
sana.
it. Thank you very much for the chance.
Hashtag is Fixing the Nation NTV. When we come back, we'll be talking to border operators and their chair on where we are with this strike. And of course, we'll try and figure out what's happening kwa ground. We'll go back to Mombasa, we'll go back to Eldoret. We'll just do spot checks around the country if it really is back to business as usual.